everybody, this is Ryu here, and today I'm here with my friend, the priest. We're going to be
Hey,
talking about an interesting topic here. It's going to be Seiya from the Saint Seiya franchise versus Goku from Dragon Ball Super post Tournament of Power. Basically, we've talked about Goku a lot on this channel already, but we haven't really touched on Seiya very much. So I know that the priest has some good information on Seiya, so I'm going to pass it off to him, and he's going to talk about Seiya's abilities, his power, all that kind of stuff.
alright, so to start with destructive capacity, I'm just gonna say I will be highballing for the sake of argument, because he has pretty high end and low end stuff. So anyway, for destructive capacity, we know at his peak in his God Cloth, he's easily low multiversal. He's not baseline per se, but he is quite close to it. So to start off with, he's capable of fighting a character named Thankfos. I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
But he's superior to the Gold Saints, who can survive multiple galaxy levels of explosions with ease, which would easily be around the multi-galaxy levels. And then he has this feat. It doesn't make much sense, to be honest, but he was capable of raising his cosmos infinitely. So for those of you who don't know, cosmos is what key is to Dragon Ball characters. So it's basically the source of power. So yeah, he raised his cosmos by infinity, and because Athena gave him a pep talk about how humans can bring about infinite strength that can surpass the gods. So yeah, after that little pep talk, he became infinitely stronger, which would be around the high universal ranges. So at his peak, he actually managed to harm Hades, which to my knowledge, no other human in the series was actually capable of doing. So this is an impressive feat because Hades created 3 universal-sized realms. These were known as Hell, the Hyperdimension, and Elysium. Although when he did harm Hades, he, died. So at his absolute peak, you can say he's low multiversal, but we're just going to say he is low multiversal casually for the sake of argument. But this isn't where it ends, because he later gained something called the 9th sense. After achieving this sense, he became astronomically stronger than he used to be, and it allowed him to fight against Apollo, who should be much, much, much more powerful than Hades.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive actually
A
when you
single
think about
word.
it.
So yeah, Pegasus. Yeah, it makes no sense, but yeah, Pegasus was able of fighting him quite well in the 9th sense, so he would objectively probably be low multiversal, without the need of a highball, to be honest. So yeah, in his God Cloth, you can say he's high universal to low multiversal, and with the 9th sense, he is objectively low multiversal.
I'd say that sounds about right.
So as for speed, this is where Saint Seiya really shines, to be honest. I mean, even without the 9th sense, he was capable of crossing Hades' hyperdimension, which is described as having billions of galaxies. The time frame for this is not exactly known, but it's implied to be a very short amount of time. So we're just gonna put that around quadrillions of times faster than light, at the very least. And by scaling, he should be comparable, if not faster, than Capricorn Shura, who surpassed the speed of the initial Big Bang, the inflation of it. So, which would be around the 6 trillions of times faster than light, possibly in the hundreds of thousands. So yeah, he's pretty damn fast. I would say he's arguably faster than Battle of Gods are Goku, or maybe even Resurrection of F Golden Frieza, who should be faster than Goku, but that's a topic for another day. So hacks. He has very useful abilities, but the thing about Seiya is that he's not as hacked as most of the characters in the show, but that's not to say he has no hacks. I mean, the ones that he does have are pretty impressive. So starting here is reactive evolution. So for those of you who don't know, you can basically analyze and comprehend any attacks after seeing them once, which is a really good character for like anyone to have. I mean, Goku and Ultra Instinct has this as well, if I remember correctly. He can also directly attack souls. So these are like his main hacks, I guess you could say. And the rest come through these abilities called the senses. So you know, like how every human has the normal five senses, which are sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. The Saints actually have even more. So there's the sixth sense, known as intuition, and this represents strength. The sixth sense grants Saints with the most noteworthy abilities of atomic destruction, mind reading, and teleportation. Above this, there's the seventh sense, which is all about miracles. The seventh sense is not explained too well, but from what I get from it is that you can basically do things that should be impossible, such as, you know, go faster than light, open up space-time, among other things. Beyond the seventh is the eighth. The eighth has to do with death and is linked with reincarnation and is actually considered the first step to godhood. And yeah, Pegasus Seiya has this. Finally, there's the ninth sense. He has this as well. Basically, having the ninth sense makes you a god, so you can probably sense Goku's energy with the ninth sense, or have some form of godhood. So the ninth sense gives some of the best hacks of any character in the show. These include time manipulation, resurrection, and the ability to control life on a planet to an extent. So just to summarize, you can resurrect after death, you know, control life, time, souls, destroy atoms, reactively evolve in the midst of battle. So I also wanted to touch upon his resurrection in the eighth sense. It's somewhat vague, but basically it allowed a character named Virgo Shaka to come back from death after being killed by Athena, and it also allowed him to move in the underworld. So essentially he was unaffected by Hades, who would have otherwise been able to take control of his soul and keep you trapped in the underworld. So basically, as long as the character's souls aren't destroyed, they can resurrect from the dead. And that's basically Pegasus Seiya for you.
Yeah, the eighth sense, like you said, it's kind of tricky. Not everyone really understands it fully, but from my understanding, basically the idea is that they can eventually, since they have control of themselves in hell, they can eventually leave hell, because normally they would be prevented from doing that. So it's theoretically like a kind of resurrection thing. It's not instant, but you know, it could happen within the span of a battle for sure, like minutes to maybe an hour at most.
Yeah, definitely.
So with that aside, definitely I think you covered it pretty well. They're certainly got quite a few hacks going for them. Their power is pretty decent, and the speed is really insane.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to be covering Goku. So now, to be clear, one other thing I want to mention about this version of Seiya, the ninth sense of Seiya, he actually only had it for like a few seconds during the Overture movie. So we're going to give him a little bit of a break here, and we'll just say that he has it permanently for this matchup, just to make things a bit more fair. But anyway, regardless of that, we're going to move on to Goku now. This is Goku after the Tournament of Power. So he's battled Jiren, he's broken his limits several times, and he has all the resulting power from that. Basically, we'll touch first on his raw power. Now, we know that Goku's always been a powerhouse. That's been the thing in Dragon Ball. They've always had a lot of power. Basically, even at the very beginning of Dragon Ball Super, we have Goku and Beerus when they fight. Their attacks that they're clashing each other with are capable of destroying the entire Universe 7 macrocosm. And as I've touched in other videos before, the Universe 7 macrocosm is actually several different space-time continuums, and all of these space-time continuums are actually as large or larger than the universe itself that we have, you know, as our own universe. So in reality, Beerus and Goku could already destroy multiple universes when they were fighting at their peak in their battle at Battle of Gods. And then also we know that Goku absorbed this power into himself at the end of that fight. So theoretically, the Revival of F version of Goku actually has this power in his base form, which is extremely impressive. We're looking at low multiversal Goku in his base form in Revival of F, which is a pretty big deal, I gotta say, because I mean, it only goes up from there. After this, basically we have more arcs that show he increases in power. He gains Super Saiyan Blue, he gains Kaioken to stack on top of it, he gains multiple increases from his Zenkai boosts and his training. He also gains some massive increases from breaking his limits with Ultra Instinct Omen. He does this 3 separate times within a Tournament of Power. And basically, when we get to the Tournament of Power, if you're being realistic, he, by scaling, should have an attack potency that is easily going well above, thousands of universes. I mean, I'm going to say his attack potency by the end of the Tournament of Power is conclusively going to be within the multiversal ranges, aka above 1,000 times Universal Plus, which, of course, we can see with even just using some basic calculations with official multipliers. Super Saiyan 3 alone gives you a 400 times multiplier. If you say his base form was only 2 times universal, multiply that by 400, that's 800 times, and then even just stacking on Kaioken times 2, you're getting into over 1,000, so he is empirically, literally going to be reaching those multiversal levels without any doubt using extreme lowballed official multipliers. So we have a conclusive multiversal attack potency Goku by the end of the Tournament of Power for sure. Now, this isn't saying his range is at that level, because he's never shown that much range, but in terms of his raw attack potency, for sure he's gotten into that realm, like the actual multiversal realm. Now, we'll move on to his next stat, which is his speed stat. Of course, his speed stat is a very important one for this fight, because as we heard earlier, the Saints, they got some pretty crazy speed going on. I mean, they literally could cross the universe in less than a second. Well, the observable universe, at least. So, in terms of competing with that, that's a tough call, because, I mean, sure, we can say that Goku, when he was fighting Beerus, his attacks were capable of crossing the macrocosm, and that is extremely fast, many, many times faster than light, easily quintillions, if not more. But even that, I mean, you can't prove that it's faster than the feat from Shura, and when Shura was able to outpace the initial expansion rate of the Big Bang. So, I mean, you can look at that and you can see that the speed is a real huge factor here that you have to consider. However, some interesting stuff happens later on in Dragon Ball Super. We actually see that the characters are able to gain 4th dimensional power and have some extreme speed feats. To be more specific, during the Tournament of Power, one very good feat we see is that Topo, when he uses his Energy Blast for his God of Destruction energy, it's capable of literally crossing infinite distance in an instant. This thing is crossing the entire world of Void and warping the entire world of Void. And because the fact is, his energy is capable of crossing instantly across infinite distance, that would be an infinite speed feat for his attacks. And of course, this scales to Goku because we see Vegeta is able to keep up with Topo, and Vegeta is actually able to beat Topo. So realistically, this would scale to Goku too, who is also around Vegeta's level at this point. Then we can go even further and see even better feats when we look at things like Jiren. Jiren is actually capable of breaking through Hit's time skip and time cage abilities, and he's directly stated to transcend time itself, and it's stated that time has no meaning to Jiren. Now, this is from 2 different sources. This is from the Supreme Kai, and this is also from one of the Angels. So this is substantiated twice, and it's confirmed and shown with actual feats that Jiren has transcended time. So in the Tournament of Power alone, we have 2 direct feats and statements that showcase that the characters have an infinite speed feat and theoretically what we would consider a immeasurable speed feat. Now, immeasurable means it's beyond linear time. So beyond linear time means any finite speed or even any infinite speed. So we can conclusively say that Goku is easily at infinite speed by scaling from Topo, and he's probably at an actual immeasurable speed level if you actually think about the ramifications of what is stated about what Jiren is doing. This is very impressive when you think about it, because no matter how high the number is that the Saint Seiya characters have for their speed, it will never compare to infinite speed, and it will certainly never compare to immeasurable speed. And believe it or not, these two are not the only instances that we have of characters reaching such levels of speed. We also see in the Goku Black arc that Zamasu is capable of becoming a fourth-dimensional omnipresent being. Now this would exceed any level of finite speed or even infinite speed, and we know that he's considered inferior to Jiren and the Gods of Destruction and the Angels and that kind of stuff. So by scaling, it would be illogical to think that Zamasu is going to speed blitz these characters. And then we also even see that after Zeno erases Trunks' entire timeline, the characters are capable of moving in a place devoid of time and space. So this again is very impressive because they're able to move without time, further substantiating the claim that they have infinite and possibly immeasurable speed. So in the end, we have Goku here, who scales to all of these characters and would easily have infinite or immeasurable speed. So this is very impressive to see. Now, we got to get into some other things as well. We're going to have to get into Goku's capabilities. Goku, he doesn't have as many hacks as Seiya, of course. Goku basically would normally, if it was an argument that we had, say, a year or two ago, people would say Goku could not put Seiya down. Even if Goku were faster than Seiya and stronger than Seiya, then people would say Seiya can resurrect, therefore he could stalemate Goku. This would have been true if you didn't consider the manga, which is a canon source, because in the manga, Goku is actually capable of utilizing the Hakai technique, which we've seen, and we've seen stated, is capable of erasing somebody body and soul across time and space. Now this is very impressive, and basically this would allow Goku to get around Seiya's resurrection ability. The reason being is Seiya's resurrection ability still requires him to have a functioning soul in Hell for him to resurrect with. If his soul is erased, he can't resurrect. So basically, if Goku uses Hakai on Seiya, then he is done for. And some people will argue, oh well, the Hakai technique won't work on Seiya. He's too strong, they're too close in power, we've seen Frieza get by from it. Well, that's actually not factual. When you look at this, Frieza survived just a tiny portion of a Hakai. Even against Toppo states he could have erased Frieza at any point he wanted to. And even if you go a little bit further, we see when Goku is fighting Fuse Zamasu, his Hakai technique works perfectly fine on Fuse Zamasu, and he almost erases Fuse Zamasu despite them being equal in power. So even if Seiya was equal to his power, the Hakai technique, when used at full power, should theoretically still erase Seiya regardless. So in the end, when you look at these two characters side by side, and you look at this one technique, it's going to make all the difference, I think. So basically, to wrap up, we know that Goku should have, honestly, easily low multiversal power, even within base, and probably multiversal power when he's transformed as a Super Saiyan Blue, or using his Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. His speed is easily infinite to immeasurable in terms of its nature, just due to many feats and statements, which would just simply be an insane amount. And then, of course, in terms of Goku's techniques, we all know he has the standard key-based techniques and such, and Master Martial Artist, instant transmission, and that real difference maker, the Hakai technique. So basically that wraps up Goku from Dragon Ball Super as he stands currently. So I'm going to go back to my friend here, and I'll ask him to tell me what he thinks about this matchup.
So I think you summarized Goku pretty well. Honestly, there's no way Seiya could hurt Goku. You could argue Battle of Gods Goku would probably lose to Seiya, but definitely not Tournament of Power. I mean, Goku, he's infinite speed, Seiya's in the massively faster than light ranges, which you just can't compare. To be honest, Goku could probably one-shot Seiya if he really wanted to. But, you know, it's Goku. He'll want Seiya at his best. Um, as for hacks, he has really nothing to put Goku down. I mean, he'll get blitzed before he can really use anything. But say he could, right? So time manipulation, Goku has shown resistance to that, and immeasurable speed just basically bypasses any form of time manipulation. Soul manipulation, Goku's shown resistance to that. Resurrection, he can bypass that through the Hakai. So in reality, there's like nothing Seiya can do. Unless this was like Battle of Gods Arc Goku, then maybe you can argue Seiya would win, but otherwise he has no chance, to be honest.
I think I'd agree for sure. Current Goku in Tournament of Power, he'll just one-shot, and I mean, even if Seiya comes back through Resurrection, Hakai will take care of that, so that's not going to help him in the end. He might get back once from it, and that's it. And I mean, even if we look at the Battle of Gods Arc Goku, it's hard to say, to be honest. I think Seiya's Resurrection might keep him in the game. I mean, Seiya could probably hurt him, so I could see him maybe getting Battle of Gods Arc. Revival of F, I think Goku's got a large power advantage in there, so it's hard to say if Seiya could even kill him. It might be a stalemate, I'd say, probably. So
due to speed.
Yeah,
maybe.
Exactly. Due to his speed and his resurrection, I could see like a stalemate type of thing there. So I mean, realistically, Seiya with the 9th sense, assuming it was stable, might beat Battle of Gods Goku just due to them being similar in power, and him having a lot more, probably not a lot more speed than the resurrection ability. Revival of F, Goku's power, honestly, and along with his durability, would probably force a stalemate there, just due to the fact that even if Goku did scale up in speed, the resurrection could probably keep Seiya in the game. But once Goku learns Hakai, Seiya's just out of it. He's no more.
Basically.
So yeah, that's basically the conclusion that we've come to. Current Goku, after the Tournament of Power, is going to literally one-shot Seiya, even with the 9th sense, even if you assume it's stable. And that's just the facts, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks again to my friend the Priest here. We should probably have some more videos out at some point again, too. I think this one went really well.
Yeah, man.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, I always appreciate it. And also hit that bell button to make sure that you get notified whenever I put out new content so you can keep up with what's going on.